All right, it's been a while, but I'm here to do a review of this 964 Carrera Cabriolet. It's a 1991 model. I have the keys. I'm going to be driving it pretty soon here, but first, let's go over what makes this 964 cab so cool.
Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications by clicking on the bell icon and never miss a video. We've got lots of Porsche content coming your way.
As much as I love driving the Porsche, I usually take the Mazda, and I also review a lot of cars every year. Now, the Porsche has the Escort Redline Max 360C with the M2 Smart Dash Cam set up in it already. I don't like swapping it between cars because I have to realign that whole package. So fortunately, the sponsor of this video, Escort Radar, has sent us the Escort Max 4, which has become my go-to radar and laser detector for swapping in between cars. So it's easy as setting up your suction connector here, which is magnetic, it'll hold real well, and then attaching the power cord, just like on any other radar detector. And then after a second, it turns on. The M2 Smart Dash Cam can also be paired with the Max 4 radar detector.
Caution, speed camera ahead.
Protect your drive. Visit escortradar.com today. What you see here is a slightly modified ünStock 964 cab. It's very brilliant and white, but you guys probably have noticed a few things that you won't see on a stock car. So let's start at the front. So at the front, you can see clearly there is no front license plate or provisions or recess for that license plate to go. That's been shaved, so it has a nice, smooth, clean look. We also have Cup Car dummy fog lights, so there's not a fog light behind there. We also have a roof lower spoiler, which I've been told is very rare, and this thing is really close to the ground. But on our whole drive, I think an hour and a half from South Carolina here to the Blue Ridge Parkway in North Carolina, I don't believe this thing scraped once. On that note, you'll also know that there's more negative camber on this car, and it's really, really low. So what the owner did here, actually, putting H&R's Deep Kit on the car, which has shorter springs, shorter shocks, piston rods, so that when you lower it, it still has its range of motion when you're going over bumps. You'll notice the wheels, real shiny, polished barrels. These are BBS RS's. They were 16-inch wheels. They're now 18s. Looks very period, very sharp, and of course, tucked up real nice, courtesy of that H&R Deep Kit. Finishing off the front end here, we have LED H4 headlights by 911 Haas, which retain the stock look with the fluting in the headlights, and you can barely tell that we have modern equipment back there. I don't know about you, but so far this car is looking really good. And I was never somebody who considered a Cabriolet 964. I haven't driven it yet, but the ride over might have me as a convert. All the flexiness of a Cabriolet that people talk about just really wasn't there. It felt like a nice solid ride. And yeah, it's just an interesting car to see a build like this. Let's continue here to the inside of the car. So you'll notice that there's a different steering wheel. It's a renowned steering wheel, smaller diameter than stock. It also has a different offset, so it fits the owner perfectly when he's sitting in these retrim seats with tartan centers. So when the owner was restoring this car, it was about making a nice driver that he can enjoy and didn't necessarily have to drive it really hard to have fun in it. You'll also notice that the rear tonneau cover looks nice and new. You'll notice here at the back, we have a deep badge deck lid. He recently replaced the motorized spoiler surround, which I guess the paint cracks pretty easily over time in the sun. And you'll also notice when we start this car up pretty soon here, the exhaust is a little bit louder than what you might think in a stock 964. And that's because it has a Fab-Speed J-pipe, which takes out the secondary muffler. So it has a nice guttural, throaty sound that 964s with this mod are well known for. For somebody who didn't consider a Cabriolet for various reasons, I'm all of a sudden thinking, man, it would be kind of fun to have a 964 Carrera Cabriolet. And part of the reason is because of prices. For a lot of reasons, the 964 market has gone up over the past several years, and the coupes in particular are very expensive. Right now, you're probably looking at least $90,000, possibly six figures for a nice 964 Carrera 2 coupe. Whereas a Cabriolet like this, you might get lucky with the $50,000 example, but 55 to 70 is sort of where these are living right now, which is a much more palatable figure for somebody like me. So we're here at the Blue Ridge Parkway, and now that I've given you an overview of this particular car, I'm going to be driving it and giving my impressions. All right, so I'm here on the Blue Ridge Parkway, starting off in my first drive ever in a 964 Carrera Cabriolet. So the first thing I noticed was that the clutch engages pretty much right off the floor in this particular car. It feels really nice. It's a very easy clutch to modulate. As I said, this is a ünStock car, so this thing's riding really, really low. So I'll be interested to see exactly how it rides on such low suspension. So a 964 has hydraulic steering, which feels great in this car. Pretty much all 964s. The shifter is so good. Yeah, and the Cabriolet, like you can tell this car, you know, it's set up more for just cruising and enjoyment rather than really attacking a back road. Yeah, sort of a little bit floaty, but not super floaty. You can just tell that it's not super nailed down like some Porsches could be. Wow, that got a lot of sun right there. It's super easy to heel toe downshift, or to rev match downshift. The gas pedal's a little bit short, very short gas pedal, I feel like. The brakes, these are stock 964 brakes, and they start stopping right up at the start of the travel. You know, it's a little bit hard to heel toe in this particular one, but the steering, you can still feel the grain in the road with this hydraulic steering rack. It's just a very solid feeling car. What I can tell over this fairly smooth road so far is that because this suspension kit, this lowering kit, was made specifically for really low cars, is that it feels very nice. It's operating how it should. And it's by H&R. So we'll pick up the pace a little bit, feel this car out. Oh, there's nothing like driving a 911 with the top down. Not a ton of power, but enough to have fun. And even though it's convertible, 964s were reinforced, the convertibles, the Cabriolets, so that by chopping the roof off, you retain at least, you know, a good amount of structural rigidity, which can't be said for all Cabriolets of the era, such as the 944 S2 Cabriolet. I love this steering wheel. It definitely, because of the smaller diameter, feels like, you know, you need a little bit more effort to turn, but it's a nice amount of effort and it's sporty. Yep, brakes are confidence inspiring. Really easy to rev match, as I said. My view of 964 Cabriolets is definitely changing after getting a ride in this and then driving it right now. Because when we're driving our Porsches, we're probably going to be driving it somewhat like this, at a brisk, but still somewhat relaxed pace. Yeah, good amount of torque, 247 horsepower with the 964. I think it's 220 something pound-feet of torque, and it goes through a 5-speed transmission. Yeah, you bend them into a corner, and you can feel the front end push a little bit if you don't trail it in, and I was not trailing the brakes in there. And throttle steering is a thing, just like in any good 911, whether air-cooled or water-cooled. A nice snarl and growl when you shift up. Let's slow down for that water there a little bit. Oh, so easy to shift. Now, with 964 coupes cresting 90,000 or even 6 figures, you know, all of a sudden a car like this, a 964 Carrera cab, just seems like a really good buy. Like something that's a hidden secret, maybe. I'm having a lot more fun in this car than I thought I would. Yeah, and you can tell with the smaller diameter steering wheel when you turn it like this, at slow speeds, that it definitely makes the steering heavier. Almost more air-cooled like. And did I mention how easy it is to shift in this? Wow. All right, let's see here. Love that sound. Oh yeah. This is what it's all about. Top-down driving on one of the great roads in North America. Yeah, very hard to heel toe in this. That's specific to this car, so I'm wondering if there's some sort of adjustment that can be made. And even on these H&Rs, as I said, it rides really well, but I'm not even thinking it rides well for lowered suspension. This actually rides well. I mean, it almost can lure you into a false sense of security about how low the car actually is. Because it's low, it would be quite easy, I would think, to scrape that front lip. But you wouldn't know it just from behind the wheel. The J-pipe by Fab Speed that deletes the secondary muffler, it's almost like a must-have modification on any 964 if you want a good sound, but for it not to sound way too loud for the average person. Oh, I love how it sounds as well on the throttle. And when you get off the throttle, it has that growl to it. Yeah, very nice. For $55,000 to $70,000, if I didn't have a Porsche, already, would I buy a 964 Carrera cab as my first Porsche? I'm not so sure about that, because I want a Porsche that can autocross and go to the track, and this probably just isn't that car. It could be, but wouldn't be my first choice. But I already own a Cayman, and as a second fun car, oh yeah, if I found the right car and could afford it, you know, I love 964s, and I could maybe afford this one sometime in my life. So yeah, I definitely would. And for somebody who isn't planning on autocrossing or track driving, it's actually probably not a bad first Porsche. If you love 964s, you know, don't think you have to go towards the coupe if you're not going to be using it competitively. But yeah, it definitely gives you that classic air-cooled rear engine experience while maintaining some creature comforts. And what's really nice about this car is it has the Bluetooth radio, which I can turn on, and the nice new speakers. So I'd probably have the ability to play music and actually enjoy it with the top down. Whew, gotta love that sound. Dang. So, is the 964 Carrera Cabriolet perhaps the biggest surprise I've had in a Porsche this year? I think so. I went into driving the GT4 RS last year thinking it might be my favorite Porsche. I've driven a lot of cars where my expectations have been met, but it's not too often when I drive one that exceeds my expectations, and really, you can't really go wrong with the 964 Carrera Cabriolet if you like air-cooled 911s. That's my review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do so. Give this video a like if you liked it. It helps us determine what kind of content we bring to you guys. Until next time.